Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Let me just make sure everything's looking good when it comes to the sound, because last time, or earlier, when I was doing the drawing live stream, there were some issues with the sound, so let me just make sure everything's okay. So that sounds better, so hopefully that sound will be okay during this stream. We'll see. Today's January 14th. Happens to be my birthday. I'm 32 today, and I'm going to be working on this acrobat type pose, handstand pose. Working on the details of that, and so if you guys have any questions or anything like that, I'll try to answer those as I see those. I'm just on YouTube today, so I'm not doing the Instagram, just because doing 2 live streams is a little bit tricky. It's not that, well, it's not that bad, but I just didn't want to, so here we are on YouTube. Okay. So here I'm looking at the calf and the calf muscle, or the what is that called? The gastrocnemius or something. And then there's the soleus muscle underneath, which is this muscle in between that upper part of the calf and the Achilles tendon here where it connects to the foot. I'm seeing kind of a double, that it curves out for this calf part. And then there's also some curve for that soleus. And I want to make sure that I get both of those curves in place from this view. center line is always helpful. You're starting to work on the details, especially on this one where I have to invent a lot of information. Hi, hello. Yeah, if you're watching and have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to add in the chat. Otherwise, I guess I'm just sculpting. Haven't really been saying much. But I often don't know what to say during these live streams. Usually I'm just listening to something. I'll listen to podcasts or something else, but during the live streams I try to just be focusing on what I'm doing. Oops. So one of the big things that stood out to me with this pose is just like the rib cage is super small, and the hips and legs are very large in comparison. And so I thought that was an interesting thing, and so I'm kind of trying to push that or exaggerate it just a little bit more than what I'm seeing in the reference. And then, as I keep going, I might use the reference less and less and just try to make an interesting sculpture, something that's yeah, just something that is simplified, or maybe not simplified, but just to just exaggerate those parts of the sculpture that I want to emphasize. Those become more pronounced, and then the parts that are not as important, they kind of fade into the background. And that's just what happens with, I think, any good work of art. The artist is able to pull out the things that you're supposed to focus on, and then the other stuff just kind of fades into the background. I felt like there was too much mass on this this part of the quads on the thigh. I felt like too much of the mass was towards the inside, so I just cut it off and then moved it to the outside, and that'll give a little bit more, hopefully a little bit better of a feeling. And a lot of this, you know, is just guesswork. When you have to invent so much information, you're just kind of I mean, if you've studied and if you're somewhat knowledgeable in the anatomy, then you can kind of guess more. You can have a more educated guess on how the muscles should be behaving based on the position of the leg, based on, you know, how those muscles are interacting with the rest of the body. Like, for example, this, you know, this part of the thigh, it's pressed up against this other leg, and so I thought it would kind of be pushed outward a little bit, but I can't see it. You know, I can't see it on the other side of the photograph, and I only have one photo reference to work from. So I just kind of have to do the best I can and pull out those things that I think would be happening. But, you know, I might be totally wrong. But as long as it's based on observation and your understanding of anatomy, and if you're somewhat accurate with those things, then sometimes you can get a sculpture that feels accurate even though it might not be totally accurate. What parts do you want to bring out more in the sculpture? Well, I think the sculpture, yeah, like I was saying, it's all about like the hips, like thin rib cage, very, maybe exaggerate the feminine you know, hourglass shape. Maybe make it even more pronounced, which I think right now is what it is, though I might still, you know, add some mass to the back. But just really pulling out, just like I've been doing with the drawings that I've done, or with the, you know, sculptures that are of bodybuilders, kind of that, like pushing the masculine to kind of almost an absurd level where almost nobody is actually that muscular. And then same thing with this. I like pushing the you know, the masculine or the feminine a little bit beyond what is maybe average to a almost like, it's not a caricature. Caricature kind of has a negative connotation, but like an icon of the, you know, of the feminine or of the masculine, like a representation, or just pushing that to just emphasizing that, like pushing the feminine away from the direction of the masculine. So with the masculine, you know, the shoulders are wide, large rib cage, small hips, and so just reversing that when I'm doing the feminine is something that I like to try to do with these studies. So pushing the feminine a little bit beyond what the photograph is, or the reference is showing, is something that's kind of fun. Now I'm taking the tool, this texturing tool. It's like a flat rounded spatula. I'm just rolling it over the forms against the direction of the form. So the leg's coming down this way. I'm trying to go across the leg for texturing. Do you ever use a mounted magnifier for like a magnifying glass for observing parts of the figure? No, I don't, but I don't do a lot of small scale stuff. You know, if I was working with miniatures or smaller things, then maybe I would do that. But it's just this, you know, the size I work with. It's not really something I need to worry about. But maybe it'd be fun to set one up just because magnifying glasses are cool. I've always thought, you know, they're just such a cool thing. Do you collect figures? No, not really. I mean, I collect my own. You know, I have, when I sculpt them, I usually leave them sculpted, and then I just kind of put them on a shelf if I haven't made a mold and cast them. But as far as others, I haven't. Though I do have some sculptures from other sculptors I admire. I have a couple, but not very many. I have a bust of Jordan Peterson that was sculpted by my friend Quentin McCann. I purchased that from him, and then I have a small sculpture from Leroy Transfield. Oh, and then I also have one, another sculpture from Quentin McCann. He did a little version of Ben Shapiro that says "Facts don't care about your feelings." Little political satire kind of type caricature. It was fun. And so those are the only, I think the only sculptures that I have of other artists. Though I'd like to I'd like to maybe get some more, but yeah, if you can get a work of art from an artist you admire, I definitely recommend doing that. You know, it's hard enough as surviving as artists, and so if you can get an original work of art from a living artist, I think that's a great way to support. Though I'm not very good at doing that myself. So now I'm trying to think about where the sacrum would be, the end of the bottom of the spine, where the, you know, these the anatomy around this back area. Trying to think about, in this pose, where would things be, and as best I can lay out those forms. There's kind of a butterfly, like a rounded shape that comes out and then down again around the glutes. It kind of curves like this and then loops here. Same thing on the other side, rounded and then rounded around here like butterfly wings. I don't know if you can see that. And so I'm trying to think, okay, like where does that end? How does that transfer to the lower back? And then trying to blend the forms in a way that feels feminine, because if you make the anatomy too profound, like the individual muscles or the muscle striations or things like that, then it starts to look more masculine, which is not what I want for this one. You know, you get that kind of that muscular feel, which is not what I'm looking for. Maybe I should turn the other light on. Let me turn that light on so we can get some more light around this side right here. Try not to knock everything over as I'm going. Somebody's asking, do you like sculpting really buff women? I think buff makes it sound like enhanced by steroids. I'd say like well, I think, you know, natural, healthy but strong. You know, the most of the references that I save are of like ballerinas, but then there's also, you know, fitness fit models that I think are very interesting. It is, you know, as an artist, it is interesting to be able to see the anatomy, but you know, with female athletes, if you get to a certain level of physical, like low body fat, where you don't have a lot of body fat, you start to look less feminine, so more masculine, and so that's something that's not only, I think, a little bit less attractive, but then it's also unhealthy. So women, especially women that compete at really high levels, they'll often become infertile. They'll have issues with their regular cycles and things, because they lose a lot of body fat that helps regulate their hormones and everything. So you definitely can get to a stage where you become unhealthy, and I don't like, I wouldn't want to promote that as the ideal. Like, I think the ideal feminine is healthy. I think the ideal masculine is healthy as well, though I guess, as I was saying, sometimes I push that. I mean, like, technically a lot of bodybuilders, male bodybuilders, are not super healthy because of the drugs that are involved in the extreme weight loss and, you know, cutting and, getting to the point where you can see the muscle striations and all that. That's that's not that healthy of a thing. But it does help when you're studying anatomy. The sacrifice that these people have gone through to really bring out the anatomy is helpful when you're trying to learn as a student, or just as somebody that wants to be able to see and observe the anatomy. So I do find that interesting. But I think help with women. I just want to sculpt healthy, beautiful looking women, because I think that that's good. I think it's a good thing to kind of celebrate being healthy. I didn't know low fat can do that for women. Yeah, it happens to a lot of like Olympic athletes when they're like sprinters or things like that. They actually will become infertile for a time. Hopefully it comes back, but it is a lot of stress that they're putting on their bodies. And women, that subcutaneous fat that women have that creates a softer look on the figure, because it rounds off all of those muscle transitions from muscle to muscle, and so softens everything. And women have more of that fat, as partly because it helps with bearing children. It helps when they're pregnant, and when they're breastfeeding, gives them an extra source of calories to draw from, which is more essential than for men. They generally don't have to deal with that issue of making sure that the next generation survives based on their own being able to provide those calories with their own body. So just naturally, women kind of, to be healthy, need just a little bit more fat than men. But obviously, that can quickly, well, especially today, when we have such an abundance of calories, that that extra fat can become unhealthy very quickly as well. And so that's why I think you can go to the extreme on either way, and either way is unhealthy. Same thing with like anorexia. If you're not eating anything and you could become so skinny that your skeleton is showing through, that's very it's very unattractive, because it's unhealthy. It doesn't look good. It looks basically skeletal, and so I think the best thing to represent as the ideal is healthy, like being healthy, a healthy amount of muscle, a healthy amount of fat. But I do think most men and women should exercise more, should work on building their skeletal muscles more, because those, we're finding out more and more the benefits of that. Part of the benefits are physical, just being able to move yourself around as you age and things like that. But then a large part of it is mental, that your muscles actually release chemicals that help with depression. They're kind of natural antidepressants that your muscles release as you exercise. And there's many other benefits to it. And so I think and everybody knows that they should exercise. Everybody knows that they should eat well and exercise, but it is difficult. It's a thing that takes discipline, and we don't really have to anymore. We used to have to. You had to go out, and women had to walk miles to go get water for the day, and bring that water back. And in some places in the world, women still have to do that, and men had to go hunting and had to track down animals. And but now we can choose not to do that. We don't have to do that. So we have to basically artificially create these environments where we're moving heavy things and putting some strain on our muscles just to keep them from going away. And but that stress, that that exercise is good for us. Let's see. So I work on it from the back view. I was kind of moving things around, and then I'm coming to the front and, you know, doing the same, trying to move things to where I feel like they're working. Okay, well, I think I'm going to leave it there for today. This is kind of a look at where we're at right now. If you're interested in sculpting, I hope you'll check out my sculpting courses. The Figure Sculpting Fundamentals course is a great place to start. There's links for that in the description. There's a free PDF that you can get that has an assignment checklist with all of the free lessons on it. And so if you're interested in that, you think, oh, I might like to learn sculpting, then you can check out that PDF and all of the free lessons. You can do those lessons. You can create a free account over at Proco.com and submit images of those assignments to get feedback from the sculpture community over at Proco. And I hope you do that if you are interested, because that will help you improve, and it's a great resource. So consider doing that if you are interested. Yeah, if you'd like to support the channel in other ways, there's my ebooks, An Artist's X-Ray Vision, the male figure and the female figure. So those have helpful diagrams, things, visual, like cheat codes that I've found to be useful when it comes to the figure. So you can also check those out. If you're interested in sculpting with me in person, I'm going to try to get some sculpting workshops going here in Iowa. If you can make the trip and travel and come sculpt with me, then that'll be coming up in person. And yeah, in the meantime, I hope you can stay creative and stay productive. And hopefully I'll see you again soon in another video.